Today for hand yoga, we're focusing on circulation for our hands and our arms. With eyes gently closed, we'll pause to notice how we feel at the beginning of our practice. You can take a big deep breath in as we lift the crown of our head a little taller. And exhale, maybe even through our mouth as we release our shoulders down away from our ears. And take 2 more breaths like that. And we can blink our eyes open. And we'll begin with a little bit of tapping. This is inspired by Dan yoga, so Korean yoga tradition. We'll begin with our right hand and we'll gently tap that right hand on our shoulder. We want to notice the effects that show up in our hand as well as our shoulder. And now we'll extend our left arm forward and we're going to tap all the way down. Tap to the back of our hand, and then we'll tap our palm, and we'll tap our way all the way down the inside of our forearm, the tricep area, and especially we want to tap a nice big circle around our armpit. This is great for draining our lymph. And then we'll rest down. We can close our eyes and pause to feel the effects in both our right hand and our left arm. So I notice a lot of tingling, circulation, activity in my right hand. I also feel like my arm is almost glowing. It has a heat and an activity for it. And now on the other side, I'll use my left hand to tap my right shoulder. And then I'll extend my right arm and I'm going to tap all the way down. Tapping on the back of my hand. And I'll tap my palm. And tap my way down the underside of my forearm. We'll tap the whole armpit area, creating a nice big circle. And rest. Once more, we'll close our eyes, pausing to feel the effects. We'll tap on our upper chest as well. So hands spread wide and open. We'll gently chest tap here on that upper chest. Create a nice rhythm here, noticing how it feels both in the chest and in the hands. And we'll rest down. We want to rest with our elbows straight, hands heavy at our sides, allowing our elbows to relax after having been tightly bent. Continuing to keep my hands at my sides, resting heavy, I'm going to tap both hands. Tap the finger to the thumb, or index to the thumb, then middle, then ring, then pinky, and repeat. Just consistently tapping fingers to thumb in a regular order. Elbows straight, arms heavy at my sides. This is a wonderful hand yoga practice to do when you're going for a walk, if you're standing at the tea kettle or the microwave. It's one of those things that can very easily be slipped into your daily routine. And then we'll rest. I'm going to rest my hands, palms facing down on my lap. You can see what feels good for your body to rest. We'll connect palm to palm at the heart. I'm going to do a big series of movements with palm to palm. So beginning here simply an Anjali Mudra with palm to palm. We want to feel the heat of each hand. We want to observe the places where our skin touches the hand, the opposite hand, and observe the hollows, the spaces in the center of the palm, the spaces at the joints where perhaps there's a tiny bit of air, a little bit of space between the hands where they aren't actually touching. We'll send more of our awareness to observing our right hand, feeling and noticing, picturing our right hand. And now we'll shift our awareness to our left hand, feeling, noticing, picturing our left hand. And then we'll return to watching both hands equally. Noticing if it feels like the hands grow or shrink as you do that, if they change temperature. Noticing the effect of our awareness. You can begin to very gently and slowly sway our hands from side to side, feeling the articulation of our wrist. If it feels good to land on one side and hold there for a little while, maybe even lifting the elbow up higher, you can pause on one side. And then we'll sway to the other side, maybe pausing there. And we'll continue to sway intuitively from side to side. We'll return to center. And now I'm going to tilt forward and back. So I can reach my hands forward and back, flexing my wrist in the opposite direction. We'll return to center, and again, pause to notice the effects. Now we'll open our fingers and then bring them together. So you can keep your hands centered, but we're spreading the fingers wide, and then bringing them close together. You can do this as fast or as slow as feels good. Can be nice to inhale and stretch the hands open, and then exhale and close them. It can also feel good to move faster than that. We'll find center. We'll rest our elbows for a moment, straightening our arms wide, keeping the palms together. We'll begin to twist, so sending one hand on the top and then the other hand on the top. And you can have your hands lower, maybe just above your knees if that feels good. That can be nice for your blood flow. I wouldn't go any higher than shoulder height though. You can go slow or fast here, maybe play with the speed, do something other than the first speed that you fell into. We'll return, keeping palms together at the heart. And now we'll stretch our palms away, keeping the pads of the fingers connected and close. You might want to inhale as you create space, exhale as you close, or maybe it would feel good to go faster or slower than your breath. We'll return to center, keeping palm to palm. If it feels good to keep your hands together, but lower them in your lap, maybe even squeeze them a little bit between your legs. It can be nice just to change the flow of gravity, but to keep the hands connected to one another. With hands still together, we'll return again to our heart space. And this time we'll keep our palms together and we'll separate the fingers. We'll return and then stretch the fingers wide and open. Palms stay together. And again, you can inhale as you open and exhale to close if that feels good, to match your breath and your movement. And we'll rest with palm to palm in Vyana Mudra. We'll interlace our fingers on alternate sides. So I'll begin in the way that feels natural, just interlacing, stacking my fingers. Open, and then do the opposite direction. You can have your hands maybe at the height of your belly button while you do this, maybe in your lap, maybe at your heart. Well, lots of good ways to practice this movement. Get your thumbs going in there too. Allow them to crisscross each other as you clasp. We'll return to palm. We'll close our eyes, pausing to notice the effects. We can be at our belly button or at our heart. And for me, I notice a lot of heat, warmth, again, increased circulation here. We'll gently massage the hands up and down to slowly release that mudra, that seal between our hands. And then we can rest our hands either in our laps or at our sides. We can rest palms facing up or palms facing down. Just observing, noticing. Isn't it interesting that one of those three options might feel better than the other? With our hands either heavy at our sides or with palms facing up in our laps, we can gently open and close our hands 70% closed, if that's 100% closed, 70% closed, if that's 100% open, just 70% open, shifting between 70% closed and 70% open. I like to do this with my hands heavy at my sides and just like tapping fingers to thumb. This is a wonderful practice that you can squeeze in all the time. When you're walking, when you have a moment to pause in the kitchen or on the phone. This one is so simple that sometimes I'll even do it with just one hand at a time. If I am busy doing something with one hand, the other hand might be doing this. Keep your eyes closed with our awareness fully present right now. Notice, what does this do to your hand? And then notice what it feels like in your wrist. And then notice the effects and the sensation in your forearm. Don't peek, don't look. Just see if you can feel what's happening in my forearm when I do this. How about in the upper arm? Do you feel any difference, activity, movement in the upper arm? Maybe even in the shoulder? And we can take a little peek and look. How is my forearm moving when I do that movement? How does that change my upper arm? There's a lot going on. And we'll gently rest, pausing to feel the effects of that movement. And especially if you sometimes have cold hands, or the opposite, if you have sweaty hands, you can just kind of check in. What do my hands feel like against my cheek? Sometimes my hands will be a little cold feeling. I do not feel cold right now. It's another sign that you are working on activating the circulation in your hands. We'll extend our arms out wide. Back of my hand facing up to start, and I'm going to twist as much as I can. So I'm getting a big twist in my shoulder, my elbow, and my wrist. So it's not just coming from the wrist, but all three: shoulder, elbow, wrist. And we'll gently rest down. That one creates some heat. Maybe you're even sweating. Your arms can be heavy. Again, we'll send our arms wide and open, this time with the palms facing forward. And we'll shine our heart a little forward, sending the shoulder blades back. If you want a really deep stretch, you can even point your fingertips towards the back of the room. And then we'll cross right arm over left arm, hugging. Maybe we connect hands to our shoulders. Maybe we connect hands to our shoulder blades. We'll take a couple deep breaths here. Inhaling into our back, feeling an extra stretch. Once more, we'll inhale, arms outstretched, wide and open. And now we'll cross left arm over right. Again, we might connect just with our shoulders. Might even just connect with our upper arms. That's fine if that's where your hands reach. Might also, I like to reach my hands around so I can feel that back side of my shoulder blade. Wherever you're at, we'll take some deep, deep breaths, opening that heart space from the back. And one last time, we'll inhale, opening arms wide, shining our heart forward. And we'll rest heavy at our sides, pausing to feel the effects, to feel the difference in the shoulder all the way down to the fingertips. Even though our focus today is hands, let's do just a little movement for our neck and our head. I feel like that heart opening just makes my body long to move my neck. So let's begin here by sitting tall, lifting through the crown of the head, sitting evenly into our sit bones. And then we'll inhale, lifting and straightening the throat. So I'm not dumping my head back. That's not the energy. The energy is lifting through the front line, pointing my chin skyward. We'll return to center. And now we're going to find the back crown of our head, and we're going to lift up from that back crown. So I'm not dumping my head forward. What I'm doing is lifting the back crown, lifting tall. Couple nice deep breaths here. We'll return to center. I'll lift my right hand up to touch the crown of my head. Now I'll maybe rest my left hand on my leg, maybe even touch the side of my chair, rest my hand heavy at the side. And I'm going to lean towards the right side. So right hand on my head, leaning my head then to the right. I'm going to feel a beautiful stretch through this left line of my neck. We can send our gaze a little to the floor or a little to the ceiling. Notice how it feels for our hand to touch the crown of the head. There's a lot of energy in the crown of the head, as well as so many interesting textures if you feel your hair or the skin of your head. We'll return to center. We'll rest down, pause to notice, feeling the difference. Note, oh, I feel that in my shoulder also. Feel the blood rushing back into my right arm after having been lifted overhead. An amazing effect of circulation when you go over your heart and then you come back down under. Now we'll send left hand to the crown of the head. And we'll gently lean to the left, noting where does it feel good to rest the right hand. And then we can play with looking skyward or looking down towards the earth. Noticing what feels good in that stretch of the neck. And then we can shift our awareness over to our left palm. How does it feel to connect with the energy of our crown chakra, the top of the head? What interesting textures do we feel without moving our hand, but just with our hand still? What interesting textures, sensations do we feel at the top of our head? We'll gently return to center, rest down, close our eyes to notice the effects. And again, observe the effects of the circulation in our arms and our hands. We're going to do a little bit of tapping with our fingertips, and we'll use just the fingertips to tap the crown of the head. So again, noticing the crown of the head, again, lifting our arms higher than the heart, changing the circulation. We can begin to tap around, like the halo of the head, tapping around the crown. We can tap into the back of our head, the sides of our head, just tapping with the fingertips. And notice, are you using the tip or the pad? You can use whichever one feels good, but notice which one is it that feels good. Now we'll tap the bottom of the hairline on the back of our head. We'll tap the bottom of the hairline on the sides of our head, and we'll tap all the way up along the top of our hairline, the front of our head. We'll gently rest down, close our eyes. Again, observe how that has affected the circulation in our hands. There might be a lot of tingling, warmth. There's a boundary with tingling. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's that kind of numb tingling, and that might let you know, oh, we did that a little too long. Maybe next time, break that up into different sessions. We'll do a little tapping on our face, and we want to notice the difference in texture. We were tapping on our scalp, possibly on our hair if we have hair on our head. And now we're going to be tapping more on an area with skin. I've got bangs, so I'm going to be still in a hair area here on my forehead, but we're going to tap gently along our forehead, using the pads. You can also try going under my bangs, noticing how that feels. Tapping from the midline of the forehead over towards the temples. I'm going to tap down the sides of my face. Continue to just use the pads of my fingers. And I'll tap down along the jaw. Noticing how does that feel different underneath my fingertips? What kind of sensations do my fingers feel here as I do this? Make our way back. We'll tap down the lymph of the neck. And gently rest. Closing our eyes, pausing to feel the effects, especially in our hands, but also enjoying the effects of our face massage. We'll begin now at our third eye space. We'll tap, maybe at first just with our middle fingers, and then we'll tap across the nose, very lightly underneath the eyes, across the apple of the cheek, tapping anywhere on our face that we didn't tap before. So really gently tapping across that whole expanse of the cheek. We'll come back up and tap along the upper lip. How does that feel different when there are teeth underneath your fingers versus that fleshy place of the cheek versus the hollow on your mouth? The lower lip. Is there a place that felt really good to tap? You can return there. Maybe we'll get behind the ears, sides of the neck. We wouldn't want to tap on our esophagus on the front of the neck. And then maybe one more time, we'll get a couple taps on the upper chest, noticing the texture of your clothing. With my hand crocheted scarf and then my shirt, got a couple really interesting different textures when I tap here that I can feel the difference with my fingertips. And we'll gently rest. Nice straight elbows, pausing to feel the effects. How would you describe the effects that you feel? We'll do a gentle sweeping motion, as though we got dusty from all of that. So we can sweep off our head, gently wipe off our face, our neck, our arms from tapping before. Let's wipe off our arm. What does that kind of light sweeping movement feel like on the skin of our hands? Very gentle, especially for someone like me who quilts. I'm always gripping, holding, pushing, pulling. What does a light dusting feeling feel like on my hands? To me, it's very refreshing, kind of an antidote feeling. Wipe off your legs too if you want. Notice how the different textures of your clothes, the different textures of skin in different areas, notice how those feel. Heightening that sensitivity, the ability of your hands to feel what it is that they're touching. And we'll just dust off our hands real good. Back of the hand. And rest again. Oh, that leaves my hands feeling like they're like shining. So let's watch that feeling. Let's watch how that feeling changes as we rest our hands, as they relax. Is there a moment when they stop vibrating? Or when the vibration changes? Maybe you still feel your hands a little bit. We're going to do what's called a mudra, a hand gesture. Vyana Mudra is the mudra for circulation. There's a sequence of 5 energies of mudras. So just to share with you, we have prana, which is the mudra of energy itself. Pinky and ring finger come to the thumb. Then we have Samana Mudra. This is the mudra of assimilation, the energy of things being taken in, becoming part of us. Then we have Prana, Samana. Yeah, and this is the one we're doing together. Vyana, circulation. So we're keeping the pad of our thumb to the index and the middle finger. And then Udana Mudra, where only the pinky is extended. That's the energy of the upward flow of energy, things lifting. And then we release our index finger. So just the ring and the middle finger are connected to the pad of the thumb. That is Apana Mudra, the downward and outward flow of energy. A mudra that if you're pregnant, you don't want to practice. So the one we're going to do is for circulation, for improving, for facilitating that circulatory flow of energy. So the pad, not the tips, but the pads of the fingers come together with the thumb, the index, and the ring. Oh, sorry. Thumb, index, middle. The ring finger and the pinky are reasonably straight, especially that ring finger. If it wants to curl a little, you can let it. We want reasonably straight. And then we want to rest our hands in our laps. We don't want to squeeze tightly here. We want just enough pressure to keep our fingers together, not anything beyond that. And we'll just notice sitting tall. If you've got a back on your chair, maybe try to resist leaning into it. If you're on a couch or something though, go for it. Do whatever you want. There aren't any strict rules here. But we want palm facing up, the pinky and ring fingers extended, pads of the other fingers connected. Just gently tuning into and noticing this mudra for circulation. And if at any point a mudra feels uncomfortable, you can gently rub your fingers together the same way we released Anjali Mudra. Just rub the fingers together and release. And then you can keep on picturing your hands as though they were continuing to hold Vyana Mudra. So if you feel uncomfortable, you can slowly release the mudra and then picture yourself holding that mudra. If your hands feel good, like mine still feel good, you can keep holding the mudra. But a practice of visualizing is wonderful. It has really powerful effects as well. So anytime that you're practicing yoga with me or with anyone else, if a movement doesn't feel good, you can pause, take child's pose, take your comfortable seat, and you can simply picture in your mind's eye yourself practicing that movement. As we begin to feel our way into this mudra, though, we're starting to create a seal or a circuit. As we practice our mudra, the fingers might start to feel a little bit like a magnetic pull towards each other. They might start to get a little bit sweaty where the skin is touching. And this circuit that's formed with the mudra, it's a little bit like a battery. A positive and negative charge connecting. Creates a loop or vibration in our body. Sometimes that can sound a little too good to be true, right? You mean just by holding my fingers together, I can create an impact or an effect on my body. But the way we can understand that is by closing our eyes, just as we're doing now, holding the mudra patiently, and starting to watch, to notice, how does our body change? How do we feel the effects of the mudra? Is there a pulsing? Do you feel your heartbeat? Your thumb is a pulse point. It's very possible to feel your heartbeat. As we watch other parts of our body, do we feel anything interesting happening with our circulation there? So I'm still holding my mudra, not worrying too much about how straight, especially that ring finger is. And as we release, we'll gently start to rub, to massage the fingers together, still resting them in our laps. And then we can let our hands take any comfortable position, maybe palms up or palms down on our lap. Just noticing the effect of that mudra for circulation. As we close for our hands, we want to do a dry wash for our hands. So as though we were under running water, a beautiful circulation of water as well. So for our hands, how would we get them wet underneath the faucet? Just initially wet. And then we'll imagine we have our soap. How do we lather up our hands? Make sure we get all those tricky little crevices clean. Make sure we get the back of our hand nice and clean. Back of the other hand. I'm going to take off my watch so I can really clean off my wrist also. Notice too the effect of wearing a watch. Right? It's a little tiny bit sweatier. It feels a little different where that jewelry was. And I'll wash my other wrist, noticing the difference. I don't keep metal next to my skin on a regular basis. And let's wash all the way up to our elbows. And the other arm. Back to my hands again. You can be intuitive here. I'm going to put my hands a little lower. It feels really good to have them lower, have my elbows a little straighter. So see how your own intuition leads you to keep washing your hands. Do you scrub one finger at a time? Do you really clean off the palms, that internal spot on the palm? Do you get your fingernails or the cuticle of your nails? Can you do a thorough dry wash? And then we'll pause once more whenever you intuitively feel like, yeah, your hands are good and clean. You can dry them off a little bit, dust them off. And then we'll gently rest. Palms facing up or down in our laps, palms heavy at our sides. Oh, I can really feel my heartbeat thumping away in my hands right now. It's probably the max circulation that I've noticed in our practice today. Just noticing your hands, noticing the rest of your body as well. How has it changed or shifted? What's been stirred up from our practice or settled down? And we'll notice the effects of stillness. Notice how the sensation in our hands and body change again as we practice being still. We'll gently send palms together at the heart, noticing again how it feels to have one hand touch the other hand. We'll gently rub the hands once over the other, creating a little more heat. With eyes gently closed, we'll rest our palms over our eyes. And we can blink once or twice into that dark hollow of our palm. We'll gently run our hands up and down our face. We'll cover our ears with the hollow of the palm. Noticing, are your ears warm or cold? Mine are warm, which is a little unusual for me. And then we'll run our hands down our throat. We'll land one last time with palm to palm at the heart. And the best in me bows to the best in each of you. Namaste. Well, thank you, everyone.